I keep saying these lawsuits that these federal judges keep bringing against Trump, the Trump administration, are absolutely pointless. They go against the Constitution and they keep getting overturned. And now a huge one has now been overturned, allowing Trump to deploy the National Guard to Portland, Oregon, which all the Democrats and all the mainstream media have been all over the news talking about how it's illegal. You can't do that. Like I said in a previous video, yes, we have posse comitatus, which prevents the president from using the National Guard for this and that, whatever. However, that's with the exception of the Insurrection Act. And guess who's enacting an insurrection right now? Antifa in Portland, Oregon. Yeah, that's an insurrection. When you are lighting firecrackers and shooting them at federal law enforcement, and you are chanting for their death, and you're interrupting their operations, you are actually enacting a real insurrection, not like a 1 day 30-minute event at January 6th where it ended all of a sudden, nobody tried it again. No, these people are out there every single day actually enacting an insurrection, and now they're going to find out. They're about to find out. So I want to get into this court ruling and how MSNBC is very unhappy that the courts are actually upholding the Constitution. And then I want to get into Antifa, because people still think that Antifa is not an organization. It is very much an organization. They have bookstores, they have parks that they meet at, they have pamphlets, they have all kinds of things that they do. I even watched a video a couple weeks ago of someone infiltrating an Antifa like dungeon club where they instruct the people, they hand out materials and all kinds of things like that. They have scheduled events. Like, this is an organization, just like ISIS. Like, the people that come over here that are in terrorist organizations in other countries, a lot of them actually come here legally. They're not very smart when it comes to peace, but they're very smart when it comes to tricking people and making people feel sorry for them so that they can trick you. So a lot of them actually come here legally, and nobody ever knew that they were a part of a terrorist organization. So you would have never thought, because they don't have an official website. They don't have an official meeting place. They're still a terrorist organization, y'all. Like, how stupid can these people actually be? So I'm going to get into that. And I have a video from someone that actually does infiltrate Antifa or meetings and things like that. And she recently did one, and she found a wall of influencers with basically death threats on them. And she was one of them. She picked up a lot of their pamphlets and everything for proof. So we're going to watch that at the end. So I'm not going to read all of this, but I wanted to show it just for proof, so you don't think I'm lying, because I did see someone on X saying that this was fake. She like used AI, or she typed up a fake AI message, and it said there was no court ruling on this date. This is the official court document. Like, you're telling me that this didn't happen? You can just look up the case number. It's public information. These people are so stupid. So let's see, where does it start? Defendants, appellants, President Donald Trump, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, in their official capacities, the Department of Defense and the Department of Homeland Security, collectively defendants, seek an emergency stay of the District Court's October 4th, 2025 temporary restraining order enjoining the President's order to federalize 200 members of the Oregon National Guard for 60 days to protest federal personnel and property at the Linguist Building, an immigration and customs enforcement facility in Portland, Oregon. I showed it in a previous video. We're about to see a little bit of footage of what's going on there too. After considering the record at this preliminary stage, we conclude that it is likely that the president lawfully exercised his statutory authority under 10 U.S.C. 12406(3), which authorized the federalization of the National Guard when the president is unable with the regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. The evidence the president relied on reflects a colorable assessment of the facts and law within a range of honest judgment. Would you look at that? He actually acted within reasonable realms of the law and the Constitution. But they say everything he's doing is illegal. All of it's illegal. He's a tyrant. He's a dictator. No, he's just trying to get states to actually enforce federal laws. That's it. He's trying to get states to enforce, like, clean up crime in their streets. They're refusing to do it. When you refuse to enforce the laws as the leaders in the state, the federal government has to intervene. And that does not happen when Democrats are in office. And it has rarely happened when Republicans have been in office, because nobody seems to actually give a crap enough to do something about it because they're too worried about their political careers. Well, guess what? Donald Trump is not a career politician, and neither is Pete Hegseth, and neither are any of these other people. That's why they're actually not afraid to enact these things and actually enforce the federal laws, because they're not worried about re-election. They don't have to. They care more about the American people and getting this country back together, that they don't care about re-election. They don't care about getting sued. They don't care about all of these things. They don't care about people standing on camera and calling us Hitler and Nazis and all of these things. They don't care about that. What they care about most is actually enforcing the law. And that's what all Americans should actually want. But God forbid that, you know, half of America isn't completely asleep when it comes to the law, the government, how things work, the country that they actually live in, the fact that we don't have a king in the United States. In fact, someone actually brought this up from my last video, which I thought it is a thought that crossed my mind, and I'm glad that they said it, is that generally the kings that still exist have less power than the United States. So this whole no kings thing, it's like they still have a government. Like the king isn't like out there dictating things in most cases. There are some where they do, but in most cases, like in the UK, the King Charles isn't out there like doing crazy things. Keir Starmer is more of a dictator than the king himself. So it's kind of ironic that they're out here protesting no kings when the president of the United States is probably the most powerful man in the world. So it's hilarious. This woman seems very unhappy that the Court of Appeals just upheld the Constitution.
Thing and then explain why functionally it is the same. This is a stay of Judge Immergut's opinion, and that's why it reached the Ninth Circuit as soon as it did, because this is an emergency motion to essentially pause her order. But as a functional matter, you are absolutely correct. It has the function of overturning her order and thereby allowing the president to send the National Guard back onto the streets of Portland. And Katie, I want to read, if I can, just from a little.
Which is his constitutional right as the president of the United States. How do these people keep their jobs and they literally don't know what is in the Constitution? They talk about this stuff all day, every day, and none of them have ever seemed to have read the Constitution, the Posse Comitatus Act, or the Insurrection Act. None of them. And it's like when people like me look at this, who actually did read about it and do know that this is constitutional and do know that this is something that needs to happen, it's just like completely mind-boggling. And these people make millions. They make millions to sit on camera and talk about things they have no clue about.
Bit of the beginning of this 93-page opinion. It says, after considering the record, and by the record they mean all the factual evidence at this preliminary stage, we conclude that it is likely that the president lawfully exercised his statutory authority under 10 U.S.C. section 12406. That's the statute we've been referring to as Title 10 when we have conversations about the National Guard deployments, which authorizes the federalization of the National Guard when the president is unable with the regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. And this is the important part. The evidence the president relied on reflects, quote, a colorable assessment of the facts and law within a range of honest judgment. We thus conclude that defendants are likely to succeed on the merits of their appeal, basically saying that when and if a court considers all of the record in this matter is tried and it gets back to an appellate court through an ordinary process where they have full briefing and full evidence, that they still think Donald Trump is likely to prevail there because he has the discretion to determine as the president within a range of honest judgment when it is reasonable.
That's part of being the president. You have discretion to run your country. Like, oh no, the president has. You remember when Joe Biden literally was saying that he was going to disobey the courts and do the loan forgiveness thing anyway? Do you remember that? Were any of these people talking about that at all? That was actually unconstitutional. That was against the law. Like that, but they don't care when a president is actually breaking the law. They only care when Donald Trump is enacting laws, law enforcement, enforcing the laws, sorry. When it goes against what they feel inside. Give me a break.
What you and I were talking about last week, when you get into the slippery slope of discretion, when you start ruling when a president can do something that he has the power to do, then you start potentially handcuffing a president of the United States.
Yeah. That's why we have an executive branch, so that the states can't get out of control and they are able to enforce the law even when the state government won't. It's pretty freaking cut and dry. It's not really that hard. Yes, if you start letting the courts determine what the president has discretion over and completely ignoring the Constitution and all the acts included in it, then you're literally just saying we don't need a president. Just let the courts run the country. That's not going to end up well, especially not with all these activist judges who don't even understand the Constitution themselves, which is pretty freaking insane. Pretty insane to have a judge that swore an oath to the Constitution and they don't even understand it. So I don't know who has seen my video about Nick Sorter being arrested for literally no reason, but he's been going to Portland, Oregon and trying to cover what's been going on. He's been in a few, like he's gotten tossed around a little bit. He got arrested for no reason, like I just said. So he's very familiar with what's been going on there. And this is a post from him before I get to the person that's infiltrating these Antifa groups. So National Guard deployment in Portland is imminent as hundreds of troops have already completed training for this mission. A Pentagon source tells me it's time. So they've actually done like special training for this in particular. I don't really know what that entails, but that doesn't really matter to me because I'm not one of them. It's time to take our Portland back. Yay, take Portland back. Over the past 3 weeks, troops were trained specifically for this deployment in the use of force, crowd control, and more at Camp Rylea Armed Forces Training Center in Warrenton, Oregon. So they've actually been getting trained, while the governor, Miss Kotex, has been on camera talking about they don't have anything to do. You're wasting tax dollars, blah, blah, blah. They've been training for the past 3 weeks while they haven't been able to do anything. So deployment should face little delays now that an appeals court has lifted an activist judge's block. I'm excited to see like how this turns out, because I wonder if like these Antifa idiots are just going to like go into hiding because they know that they've been designated as terrorists, or what. Of course, you're going to have to prove that they're a member of this group and they had intent to actually harm people, or they actually did harm people, which in this case, they are actually harming people. Like I said, they're shooting off fireworks at the agents and everything like that. They're pushing them. They're doing all these things. And they're keeping the citizens up at all hours of the night because they're there all night doing drugs, staying tweaked out so that they can stay up all night and cause chaos. Like, it's really just all around terrible. The police in Oregon are pretty much on Antifa's side. They're obviously not enforcing laws. I looked it up. There are noise ordinances in Oregon and in Portland specifically. And if you're causing an unusual level of sound, then you get charged. Like, it's that simple, but they're not, because the police aren't doing anything. They're actually, it almost seems like they're kind of protecting the Antifa people. and almost like assisting or letting them attack ICE. They're not intervening, and that is a violation. That's a violation of federal law. There you go. Throwing the tear gas back. Plenty of fireworks. Actually, are those fireworks or is that the tear gas canisters? I can't tell. But I do know that they have been shooting fireworks at them. I've seen plenty of videos of it.
Oh my God. You have to kill me!
Normal people would leave. Normal people would leave. These are people with a mission to stop ICE, as if that's possible, to stop the federal government from enforcing laws. These people don't even know who made the laws. Who made the laws? The immigration laws. Who made these laws where ICE has to go out and deploy people? Congress. Not Donald Trump. Not JD Vance. Congress. Congress made the laws. And guess who didn't change them over the past 3 years when they had control of the House and the Senate? Congress. Democrats. Democrats in Congress. Like, come on, man. I don't know what does it take for people to just learn how these things work and know who to blame? They should blame AOC and Jasmine Crockett for not introducing any bills whatsoever to change immigration laws if they're that mad about it. But no, they're just doing shit that's not going to do anything for them. So we're going to watch this short video by Carlin Borsenko, Borysyenko. Now, I will give you a warning if you decide to start watching her. She does say some things that you may not agree with, just like I say things that people don't agree with. Someone said goodbye to me today in the comments. I don't know what that, I don't know if that means goodbye to the people in the video. I don't know if that means goodbye to me. I'm unsubscribing because I don't like this video that you made. It happens. It's been happening the whole time. We don't all say things that everyone's going to agree with, and that's normal. Like, it would be really unusual for us to just like, as a normal person, okay, not like an online personality or whatever. I'm just a normal person talking on the internet. It'd be very unusual for me to agree with everything that somebody says. That almost never happens. So just you don't have to unsubscribe. You don't have to like get mad and pissy or anything. You know, if you disagree with something that I say, that's fine. Who cares? Nobody cares. I don't care. Now, if I'm doing something that you find like really annoying, or you're like, he should stop saying that or whatever, maybe leave that in the comment instead of just saying goodbye. Like, I don't even know what you're mad about. I don't even know. But she says sometimes, like, she'll say that she is basically the fascist that they are talking about. Like, she'll say stuff like that she wants them all rounded up and put in concentration camps. So, you know, she does say some things like that, but she's got very valuable material because she is out there infiltrating these organizations to prove that this is not just an idea. This is an organization. And for some people, it is an idea. For some people, it is. And anti-fascism, great idea. It's great. But this is not anti-fascism. This is actual fascism. When you are harming people over political beliefs and you're threatening to kill people for doing their jobs, enforcing the laws, that's actually what the Nazis would do. That's real fascism. Very real fascism.
I'm Carlin Barasenko. I'm an analyst and independent journalist covering the far left in America. And yesterday I told you that Antifa was actually trying to hunt me down when I was at an event in the Bay Area yesterday. I was in San Francisco at the Bay Area Anarchist Book Fair, collecting their propaganda, getting their organizing strategies, going to their sessions, stuff like that. Also, I can show you guys what the real far left is doing. And they were looking for me and they were trying to catch me. But luckily, I got into the event, I got out of it, I got every single thing I wanted, and then I headed right to the airport and got on a plane. Now, a lot of you thought I went home, but I didn't. Where I went was Seattle, because the Seattle Anarchist Book Fair was the day after the Bay Area Anarchist Book Fair. Now, but what do you know it? I have people around everywhere. And so I actually have community members in Seattle who went to the Anarchist Book Fair the day before I got there, and they said, Carlin, you're on the wall of fascists. So I was actually, this is a photo from the Seattle Anarchist Book Fair of all of the quote unquote evil fascists that they were watching out for. And look who's in the dead center of the wall. That's me. This was up the day before I got to Seattle. So I did the only sensible thing to do, which is I put it on a disguise, I put my hair up in a thing, I wore a mask, I made myself look as non-binary as possible, and I went to the book fair and I took a selfie with the fascist wall in which I am at the very center. That is what you have to do when Antifa puts you on a fascist wall. You don't flinch, you stare them in the eye and say, I'm not f***ing around anymore, and you go to their event anyway and you do exactly what you want to do. And what I wanted to do was to collect a boat ton of their propaganda, exactly like I did in San Francisco. This is the haul I got from Seattle. I got a very similar haul from San Francisco. We got a massive amount of far-left propaganda on this trip. So massive W. I infiltrated 2 different Antifa events in 2 different cities in 2 days and got all the goods, all the stuff I want to show you guys about what they're planning, what they're doing, what their philosophy is, how they're organizing. These zines will give us the key to the kingdom. And I want to do a great big thank you to my friend Matt Adams. Matt was also on the fascist wall. You can see him right there. And he came with me to the Seattle Anarchist Book Fair, and we went together. And he got a whole bunch of stuff too. And I appreciate him looking out for me, having my back. It was really nice to have someone there, knowing that I wasn't walking into the event where I was on the fascist wall by myself. And you can see too, there's some other amazing journalists on the fascist wall. We got Jonathan Cho up there above me. We got Honey Badger Mom. We got Katie Davis Court. All of them are amazing on the ground journalists. In addition to Matt Adams right here, you should follow all of them. They're all doing amazing work, getting on the ground video about what is happening with Antifa in real life. And now that I've had these 2 massive infiltration victories in 2 days, the next thing I need to do is read and archive all of this far left material. This is how the far left organizes. This is how they maintain a decentralized model while still being able to communicate with each other, is through these things called zines. This tells us their organizing strategy. This tells us how they're funded. This tells us what their priorities are. It tells us their talking points. These are the key to the kingdom. That's why I go to these events, just to be able to show you things that are happening on the far left that no one else is showing you. Now, if you want to support the work I'm doing or get more familiar with it, head over to my Substack. That is Carlin, KARLYN.substack.com.
Does that look like it's just an idea? Does it look like it's not an organization? They have actual materials they're handing out to people. They're being funded. We all know that. And if it was just an idea and it was people that wanted to fight fascism and wanted peace and all that, why are they always covering their faces? Why are they attacking people? Why, if they find out that someone like this wants to come in and record and whatever, why are they so scared of that? Why don't they want to share their viewpoints with everyone else who may disagree with them so that they can gain more people with this idea? It is clearly an organization of psychotic people who don't even understand what fascism is, but claim to be fighting fascism while they're actually enacting fascism. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. So tell me in the comments, what do you guys think about all this? If you choose to unsubscribe, can you tell me why, instead of just saying goodbye or not saying anything? Press the like button. Make sure to hit the bell icon for notifications, because sometimes YouTube does not send my videos out. And I will see you on the next one.